Welcome back, friends. Another edition of Flake News. What are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm gearing up because tomorrow I'm going to be in Chicago. Tomorrow being today, I suppose, as I'm recording this on a Thursday and publishing this on a Friday. We're going to be in Chicago for the MinMax Games. What is it, a skirmish? I think skirmish seasons is what we're headed up for. So I will be there. I'll be casting alongside Sam Dando, I believe. And yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. But let's just dig into a little bit of what's on my mind this time around. And I want to sort of propose an idea that exists already in other card games. And I have proposed this to other existing card games that have essentially said, no thank you. I'm curious what a Flesh and Blood Hall of Fame would look like. Now, I get it. It's very early in the existence of Flesh and Blood. There's no way that you can conceivably create a Hall of Fame where you can induct people, because the body of work would be too small, even for people, let's say, like Michael Hamilton, who is the number one player in the world and just wins all the time. Is it right to, let's say next year they just happenstance just say we've got a Hall of Fame, here is our first 4 inductees, or however many it would be, of players and builders, creators, whatever it would be. But I like the idea of a Hall of Fame because Magic already has one, and I know nothing about it. Legitimately, I know nothing about it, and I work with and am friends with a lot of people who have played against Hall of Famers, who are surrounded by people who are the Hall of Fame, who have rubbed shoulders with them, know them, etc. And I like the idea of a Hall of Fame because it's something that is, immortalizing of a player and of their achievements. And I think that's cool because there needs to be something that establishes and celebrates legacy. Establishing the legacy is up to the player themselves. It's what they're going to do. Their motivations might not necessarily be, hey, I want to be a Hall of Fame player. That might not be what they're up for. Maybe they just want to play games. Maybe they want to make money. Maybe they just want a trophy and a story to tell, and that's perfectly fine. However, along that journey, they're going to rack up wins. They're going to rack up this laundry list of achievements, and that becomes your legacy. And I think that that's something that needs to be celebrated. Now, obviously, it's too early, but I want to sort of start the conversation, get the mind gears churning, and get some smoke going on in that furnace, because I want to know what your thoughts potentially would be about a Hall of Fame and when one could conceivably perhaps be introduced. Think of it as like a living legend system for actual people. Like, it's fascinating to make that comparison, but I think it's justifiable. And it's not like the Hall of Fame is an outlandish idea, because it exists in other games such as Magic. So what would a Flesh and Blood Hall of Fame look like, and when can we conceivably start inducting people into it? To me, I think that 10 years. 10 years has to be the baseline of when you can start thinking about it. Now, that's obviously way out in the future. Flesh and Blood, I think, is entering their 3rd year of competitive play, and or was it 2019, maybe 4th year. So we're not even halfway there, Pat, to that 10-year mark, where I think it would be good, a proper perhaps to start having this discussion. But we can kind of fantasize about it. We can throw some ideas around, throw something against the wall, see if it sticks. But that, to me, I think is something that is just good for the player base. And when I floated this idea, and I floated this idea to Gwent, actually. Gwent had their own list of problems that unfortunately they never really dug their way out of. But one of the things that I wanted to introduce, I think it was maybe 2 years ago or so, was I thought that it would be a good idea as a celebration of the game to perhaps start having that kind of reward system to celebrate the history of the game, the players who really made an impact, and the personalities who shaped what that game is. Now, I think at that point, the writing was already on the wall for the game, and they kind of walked away from that idea because it was not going to get them anywhere at that rate. There's bigger fish to fry, and unfortunately, there wasn't enough fuel in the fire to fry that fish, because unfortunately Gwent is no longer going to be around post this year. They're not going to be releasing content or really supporting the game. But Flesh and Blood's doing well. And I think that it's certainly something that we can conceive in, 5, 6, 7 years that there might be a Hall of Fame. And that could be a really interesting debate to have of who those people are that might be first ballot Hall of Famers. It's a sports thing. And you know me in sports, I love sports. But I think that in terms of like a hallowed ground, it's more of a celebration of the players, a retrospective, and like a lifetime achievement award for players who just continuously demonstrate that they are the pinnacle of what the game has to offer from the perspective of gameplay, innovation, personality, all that jam. I think that's something that we can talk about. So who would those people be? I think at this juncture, it's interesting to me because what the conversation is today versus what it would be like a year ago. A year ago, you'd be like, oh, well, that's easy. You're slamming in people like Pablo Pintor, or you're slamming in people like, I don't know, Dante Delfico or whatever. But Pablo Pintor is still out there, still grinding, still crushing it. But I haven't heard about, I don't know, what's Dante Delfico up to? Who knows? Hope he's having a great time. But it's the point of me saying this is that conversation changes. And what that Hall of Fame ballot might look like today versus what it'll look like in 5, 6 years from now is going to be completely different. Because right now, Michael Hamilton is by far way above the rest of the pack. If you want to look at raw metrics and elo, or you want to look at just the fact that the guy creates decks, refines them, and crushes scrubs out there like they're nothing, that's part of it. But you want to also insulate that with the fact that he's got a personality and is just a good person. The whole angel of death thing aside, we get it. But just in general, he's just a really wicked dude with one hell of, a laundry list of achievements that would support the argument that he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think that there's nobody out there who could dispute that. If it was to be done today, it's him. It is absolutely him. But who else? Tarek Patel. Is Tarek Patel someone who should do it? Is somebody like Cale McCreath, maybe Matt Rogers? There's so many names. And this is why, obviously, having that conversation now makes no sense. Because I think everybody is, Michael Hamilton might be here, but there's a whole bunch of people who are just a notch below. And then below that, there's, exponentially more. So you need time to parse that out, to stretch out those accolades and see if there's any sustainability to them. Does Michael Hamilton have it to continue to succeed? And I'm not saying at the same clip, because what he did in a calendar year is obscene. But maybe he can take that and, dial it back a bit, whether he wants to or not. Maybe he's not going to win at the same rate that he had in the past year. But if he wins a calling a year and top 8's a whole bunch of other major tournaments, maybe he tops 8 worlds. Maybe he finishes in the top 4 of like U.S. nationals or something like that. Those are statistics, those are accolades that you can bank on. It's not just about wins, and I see this all the time because you look at people's Twitter accounts and you look at their bios, and their bios aren't "I won this and I won that." Exclusively, it's "I won this, but I also top 8'd this, I top 8'd this, and I finished 17th in this, and I finished 32nd in this, and whatever." Those matter, those count, and I think that a Hall of Fame would be a really damn cool thing to have in Flesh and Blood. We are well distanced from when that might come to fruition, if it even would come to fruition. But I think that that's a really awesome way to celebrate the game, the community, etc. And Flesh and Blood has been very, very good at making sure that the community gets the recognition, gets the love that they deserve. James has told me several times that he's well aware that a lot of what Flesh and Blood success rides on is the wave of community and player base support, content, just all that. Because they don't do a whole lot of marketing. It's a lot of word of mouth. But I think that a Hall of Fame is another nod and a tip of a cap to those who have truly put their blood, sweat, and tears into a game. It's an immortalization of that effort and that goodwill that players have put into this game. Does it come with a plaque? Does it come with a ring? Does it come with something? In my opinion, I mean, rings are cool. Plaques are awesome. I think that something like that would be really cool to have, obviously. But in addition, I think that something that should happen is that they should be immortalized in a card, in the art somewhere. Have an artist create a rendition of somebody in a card and go from there. Now, it doesn't have to be majestic. It doesn't have to be whatever. But one of the things that I myself, in this space, as a content creator, as a voice, as whatever, I'm not winning tournaments. So where, my legacy is not going to be this laundry list of accolades that I have knocked down over X amount of years of playing the game competitively. I just don't have it in me. I love to compete. I think I'm a very good card player, but I'm not on those levels. And who knows, I probably never will be. So to me, immortalization and making sure that something is lasting, that what you're doing matters, it's an important element. And this isn't me trying to lobby to say like, there's a Hall of Fame, I'm better be in it. No, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is about a celebration of the people who Flesh and Blood, who LSS have truly leaned on as pillars to carry this game, be it from a competitive standpoint, a community standpoint, or whatever. I want to know what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts about a Hall of Fame? Who would you put into the Hall of Fame if it opened today? Drop it in the comments. Let me know. I think it's something worth discussing. I think we're well away from that nonetheless. This has been Flake News. Be well, be kind.